All right. Thank you everyone for joining us on Civic Learning Week. It is the third day today of Civic Learning Week on Wednesday. And thank you for joining us at the Committee of 70. And I'm honored to be joined by C70 lead educator and Spector. We are going to be focusing on civic knowledge and skills in primary grades. We're going to discuss democracy for kids. What are the resources available? And then we are going to bring on a panel of teachers and get some testimonials about how they use their resources and learn how you can begin using those resources. Before I introduce Anne, I would like to say for Q&A, please, to our attendees, use the chat during the Q&A panel chat, either or, to ask questions, and we will answer questions at the end. I'll facilitate the Q&A at that point. So, if you have a question, you can write it in there. It'll be there. I'll see it. And then I'll ask Anne and our teachers those questions. So keep them there as you go. All right, Anne. I'm Sam. I'm the PA Civics Coordinator at Committee of 70, and I've been organizing our Civic Learning Week programming. Committee of 70 since 1904 has led the nonpartisan effort in Pennsylvania to make our government more representative, transparent, and accountable. We're here today, we civics, because that investment in better government also requires an effort to build better citizens, and is so instrumental in that. And Committee 70 is the lead organizer of PA Civics, which is a statewide bipartisan coalition to support, promote, and expand civics. And would you like to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Okay. I thought the best way to start was to talk about the partnership that I have with the Committee of 70, because I think that the Committee of 70 has really shown me that they are the quintessential change agents, if you will. They saw the importance and the urgency of needing to bring civic education into the classroom for children from kindergarten to 8th grade. They came up with a plan. They outreached for people to help them support their plan, and they did the most important thing that we can do. They actually implemented their plan. So I just want to congratulate and thank both Sam and Justin and Lauren for really being the model of what advocacy and change agency is. What I'm going to do, who am I? I am a lifelong educator. I have taught every grade level from kindergarten to third year law students. And I have taught that in many different settings, in urban, in suburban, in private, in parochial, and K to college. So I will tell you that the Democracy for Kids is based on a couple of things that I think are important for you to know as we go through the materials. Number one, Democracy for Kids really looks at the classroom as a sacred place, as a place in which teachers can begin to build children who are going to be our next generation of thinkers and leaders. The other thing I think it's important to know is that I believe, and these materials definitely support this, that there has to be a place in our classroom for materials for which there are not necessarily right or wrong answers, but for which students have the opportunity to get information and then use that information from each of their points of view. I think some of the most beautiful words that a student can utter is, I think, from my point of view, in my opinion. And so the Democracy for Kids materials have been based on those two pieces of information. And I'm going to share with you all of the things that we have to offer, and then ask you to think about the ways in which they can be seamlessly integrated into your classrooms. The first thing is the way in which we start all of our lessons. And that's with something called a minute mystery or a creative growth game. And I think it's really important because it gives all of the students in the room an opportunity to come up with ideas and answers. They're much more participatory when we start with our minute mysteries. And I have one for today. I'm going to give it to you. and then I'm going to answer it because in the essence of time, I think that's important. But I used this minute mystery just yesterday in a first grade class. And what it did, what it allows children who normally don't participate the opportunity to participate in a situation for which there are no right or wrong answers. Here is the minute mystery. A man comes into town on Friday. He stays one night and leaves on Friday. How does that happen? And as the first graders, many of them gave us ideas how it happened. At the very end, after about 12 questions for which I could only give a yes or no answer, but even a no answer is important because it helps us eliminate possibilities. One of the students said Friday was a horse. Minute mysteries. And if you're interested in starting with a minute mystery or a creative growth game, please let us know. I have many of them, which I am willing and very able to share. The second.
And I'm sorry, I just want to interrupt you for a second so you can tell us the answer. One actually, we have the one about a man looking through the window on the sixth floor of an office building is the one that's on the screen for our attendees.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we don't need to read it to them. They've been reading it. Do you want to tell us the answer about a man looking through the window on the sixth floor of an office building?
Former English teacher, and I always think that words are so important. And so I love this one. And the reason I chose the Friday to do with us today is just because I used it yesterday with a first grade class. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that first grade is not too young to begin to start working on civic engagement and starting to have more voices heard in the classroom and having them think logically. But yes, the answer to the question, to the minute mystery about the man who leapt through the window, which way was he leaping? He was a window washer. He leapt into the building, not out of the building. Thinking.
Thanks, and we can move on to the star cards now.
Thinking outside of the box. Yes, the STAR cards. That's the second thing that we do in every lesson. STAR stands for Students Thinking and Acting Responsibly. There are 2 decks of STAR cards, one for K to 3 and one for 4 to 8. Each deck has 36 cards to represent the 36 weeks in a school year. And there are 3 different kinds of cards in each of the decks. The red cards are the cards that build basic civic knowledge. And I'm going to give you an example of a red card from the K to 3 group, and then an example of a piece of children's literature that would support it and for which lessons are designed. This is to build basic civic knowledge. And if I could see it, here. Okay. George Washington was the first president of the United States. Kamala Harris was the first woman vice president of the United States. What would you like to be first to do? What would you like to be first to do? And it's a wonderful question. The children either answer it then, or sometimes we put a big piece of paper up and let them think about what would be the thing that they would like to be first to do, and think about it. And all of the star cards can be used in 2 ways. They can pick a card, any card, and use it at a morning meeting, use it in a social studies class, use it as a prompt for a writing assignment. Star cards are also in our program merged or married with pieces of children's literature, read alouds that we do. And so one of the read alouds that goes perfectly with this is Granddaddy's Gift. Granddaddy's Gift by Margie King Mitchell really describes very clearly someone who did something for the first time. When her granddaddy becomes the first Black registered voter in their small Mississippi town, he gives a gift to his children and his grandchildren. A beautiful read aloud that goes with the star card. The second kind of star card that we have are the star cards that encourage engagement. Encourage engagement. And here is the star card that encouraged engagement for 4th through 8th grade. Imagine that your school is considering serving, excuse me. Let me just see. Well, star card for engagement is the yellow card. Excuse me. Can you think of a place in your neighborhood that you would like to clean up? What would you do to start your cleanup campaign, and how would you get others to help you? I think this star card is very current. I was just at the Philadelphia Flower Show, where this idea of cleaning up our neighborhoods and finding vacant lots and actually working to make them a usable place in our community was the theme. So I think that this is something that's very important, and oftentimes we have projects that the students can do. We want to encourage them to look into their community and think of ways in which they can help make their community better. A book that goes with this, a perfect book that goes with this, is Carl the Complainer. Carl complains and complains and complains until he realizes that he has to do something, come up with a plan, just like the Committee of 70 came up with a plan to have their democracy for kids, and then put their plan into action. That's the important thing. And then the last set of cards are the blue cards. And the blue cards give students practice in democratic deliberation, give them in practice in debate, give them practice in advocacy. And here's a sample of a card that gives you practice in democratic deliberation. Imagine that your school is considering serving only one thing for lunch. Is this a good idea or not? What reasons might you give to support your point of view? And what I often do is have them support their point of view, tell us their reasons, and then ask them to see if they can think of a reason to support the other point of view, the other side, which today I think is a really critical skill to have. The next thing that we have our read alouds, and our read alouds all come with lesson plans. Each lesson has a question that builds basic civic knowledge. Each lesson has a question that encourages students to become engaged in their school or community. And, and each lesson has something that requires deliberation. And then at the end, usually there's some kind of an interactive that allows the students to actually try something around the piece of literature in the lesson. We have 70, the Committee of 70 has 70 lessons currently posted, and all of the books on the read alouds can be found on YouTube if they're not found in your home or school library or your community library, so that you can always use the read alouds and then follow them up with lessons. And I encourage people always to send us new read alouds so that we can develop lessons that are specific to the kinds of things that you read in your classroom. We use read alouds from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade, and they do span all of the topics, and they do include all of the areas of the star cards, the read alouds. Now, the next thing, and I see that you put up the plays. Is that the next screen?
Yeah, let's hear about the I'm Not Lying, please.
Oh, yes. There was a question out there about whether or not kindergarten, are they too young to participate in some kind of civic engagement? And I go back to Aristotle, who said, learning is a building block, and you've got to start at the beginning, the first building block, the first time the children are in school, kindergarten. And so we came up with a couple of plays. I'm Not Lying, Lion, is a series of plays that teaches the children about rules, teaches them about conflict and conflict resolution, teaches them about a variety of things that will help them to become and to begin to be good citizens in their school and in their community and in their home. And I put this on this week we're going to, what we do is we take the plays, we go to a 4th or 5th grade class, the class practices or rehearses the play, and then takes it into the kindergarten classroom. And I have to tell you, there's nothing better. The 5th graders are the teachers. They do the Q&A. They work with the children. And I think it's important because I think it's a win-win for both the 5th grade class, the kindergarten class, and all of us, because we're creating and supporting better, more involved and more educated civic um, uh, children who are really engaged in their citizenship. I'm not lying. And there are several of them. And it's not hard. This is the costume that they will wear, that Yellow will wear when they do Yellow, Purple, and Green, which is the play that we're going to start working on tomorrow. Okay.
All right, nice. All right, let's take it to the literature-based mock trials, and then we'll hear our teacher testimonials.
Okay, the literature-based mock trials. Whether it's Goldilocks, who's being charged with a crime because she was charged with breaking into the Three Little Bears house, or whether it's To Kill a Mockingbird, that what we do is we take the literature, we write a fact pattern so that the students have a kind of an outline of what's happening, and we either write with them, or we give them one of the 25 or 30 or 40 original authentic mock trials that have been written by students. They can edit them, they can add to them, but they always end up at the end arguing the case and seeing it from both 2 points of view. Usually we bring a judge or a lawyer into the classroom, or they go to the federal courthouse here in Philadelphia and they argue their case, and they get a sense of the language of the courtroom, and they get a sense of the different kinds of questions, the leading question and the direct questions that are being asked, not just in the courtroom, but in their own classrooms. And they have, I think that it's an activity in which many children feel comfortable participating. And that's one of the most important things about what we try to do, is have as many voices in the classroom heard through all of these activities from kindergarten to 8th grade.
All right, wonderful. And again, just a couple of examples, like and mentioned the State versus Goldilocks. That's a favorite, of course. Criminal trespass, and the State of Johnny Cave from the Outsider, which is a case of murder in the 2nd degree. And just has so many of these. You can find them on our website. And always looking for more suggestions of titles that would make sense for this. And it really is a great program for K-8. And now I'm just so excited. And put together a great panel. Sorry, of teachers. I'm going to ask them all to come on now and share a bit about how they use these wonderful materials. We're joined by 3 exemplary teachers from Philadelphia who are here to share how they use their materials. I figured we could go in order, grade order, which is the order of appearance here on the screen. If you just take a moment to introduce yourselves and how you use these lessons, and then we'll open it up to questions. Again, please put your questions in the Q&A panel in the chat, and I will read any questions out loud when we get there. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Hi, well, thanks for having me. I am Miss Lee, and I am a 1st grade teacher. And today I would like to discuss, how I use the civics program to build civic knowledge in the 1st grade classroom. And one way we do that is through read alouds. But just like, Ann Spector said, we always start with, there's a minute mystery that they love. And my class was the 1st grade class where they did the with the horse. Friday is the horse. So yeah, that was fun. And then in addition, after that, we, have a star card. And what that does is really helps, it really helps them really think about, what's going to happen next in it relates to the read aloud. And I just like to share, some of our examples of our read alouds. And all of the read alouds are really designed to teach our youngest students about using their voice in a responsible and respectful way. The beauty of this program is that you can use any text to teach these concepts. For example, we used Interrupting Chicken, which is a text that's part of the program. And the students were able to generate different solutions so that the characters can achieve, we're looking for like a win-win solution. But of course, everybody has a voice and gets a chance to share what they think. And then we kind of pick out, well, what types of solutions are these? Are they win-win, lose-lose? So we kind of make them think about that. Another story that we did was it's called Amelia Bedelia's First Vote. And, yeah, that's a good one for just really introducing them about voting. And this happens, and our kids really like to kind of when we ask them, well, what kind of rule, trying to make a new rule, having them be able to share their ideas, and then we take a vote on that Ms. Spector, or you can, make up a ballot so they have an opportunity to like practice voting. So that's great. And then finally, we also use like Hey Little Ant, which is another great story that illustrates how important it is to cultivate your own point of view. So the students use the story to discuss the pros and cons from the points of view of both the ant and the little boy. And then we can generate reasons. Whoops, sorry. My light turned off. We can generate reasons why the boy should or should not like squish the ant. And not only that, we can extend that to our writing piece, because right now we actually are writing an opinion piece so that right there we can, they can come up with their opinions on why they should or should not squish the little ant. Yeah, so, and also in addition to that, so we talked about a lot about cross-curricular, and so this text also lends itself to like science information about, how ants help the environment, that, ants are insects and things of that nature. So these are just some examples that allow our students to learn to use and how to use responsible and respectful voice. So, and these lessons are designed to be interactive so that we can hear all of their voices, or as many voices as possible. Thank you.
I'm next. My name is Ann Olvera. I teach 5th grade reading and writing here at EM Stanton School. And the civics knowledge program has been such a great boon for us at our school. We've just had such a wonderful time over the years, like learning how to use all the materials that Spector provides and adding to it and doing more and more and more. This morning we do during our morning meeting time, we've been doing the star cards. And this was the one we did today. And our question was, imagine that your school board is considering making the school year longer. They all went, ah! They didn't want that at all. And then we changed them. We said, what about if they asked your parents this question? They're like, oh, my parents would say yes, longer, but they did not want longer. But having that chance to discuss, and the 5th grade loves to discuss, and they have such great ideas, and just having these prompts in that morning meeting time is a great, great time to have that wonderful discussion, and like Francis was saying, to have that respectful, responsible discussion, and everybody learns to talk and gets to, say what they want to say, and then using all of the good cues for having a good discussion, like, well, I'd like to add to what she said, or I disagree, or let me add, having the discussion, which is wonderful. So we do those in the morning during morning meeting, which has been a really nice thing to have. And then Ann Spector was talking about the K-2 plays. And that's my class is doing those with the kindergarten, and where she's coming tomorrow. So we're going to have that. The kids are going to learn a new play, but we already did one. And the kids are able to learn their part and read their part. They have to memorize it. It's fine. They read from their scripts, but they act it out a little bit and they use their voices. And they were the ones who were asking the questions of the kindergartners. They're asking them, they were moderators for the discussion, which was really fun. And they were able to think about, they asked the questions themselves in practice. And then what do you think the kindergartners are going to say? And it was interesting because Anna had given us some question possibilities. And they said, I think those are a little too hard for kindergarten. So we scaled them back a little bit, and she took that feedback and was like, yes, that's a great idea. And so we changed them up just a little bit so the kindergartners can understand. But it was a wonderful experience to have the kindergartners listening and asking questions of us, and our kids asking questions of them, and having that going across the grades, which is a really wonderful thing. We've been doing mock trials at Stanton for a long time. And the mock trials are amazing. And they're literature based, so it's based on what books that we've read. The one that when I was teaching 6th grade, we always did, it's a book called When You Reach Me by Rebecca Steed. And it's got a involuntary manslaughter situation, and the kids get to write, they get to discuss, they get to come up with, they love the questions where, so isn't it true that you couldn't see everything out that window? And they love that just getting into being like a lawyer, and they think it's so much fun, and they just have such good questions. And then it's fun to bring in a real judge to have that as a special treat at the end. The judge comes to school, and we get to have the judge try the case, and it's so much fun. And the kids learn so much about how it works, and how to ask questions, and how to, not just how the court works, but how to figure out how to get an answer to something. And then the other thing that I'm participating in at school is we have a student government here, and I've been sponsoring that for a little bit here at Stanton. And it's for 5th through 8th grade, so it's only for the middle school. But in 4th grade, they have their city elections, and they all watch as it happens. So like when you get to 5th grade, you get to be part of student government. And so we have a president and a vice president and a secretary and a treasurer, who's our executive branch. And then we have the House of Students. And so 3 students from 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade all participate, and they're part of the House of Students. And they write bills, and they plan, and they work together to listen to their constituents, and then bring feedback back to our group. And we meet once a week, and we do in order to have the elections, we always do the executive branch first. We have a town hall meeting, and everyone takes notes, and we have a worksheet for them to take notes, and everybody learns about how when you vote, you listen to the candidates, think about what you like about them, what you don't like about them, what you have questions about. And that's something that, I mean, I would need one of these for my own self when I vote. What do I like about this candidate? What do I not like? What do I have questions about? And things that you would do to prepare to vote yourself. And then they get to vote, and they vote in their classroom. And then we have the president, we have the vice president, secretary and treasurer, and they serve for a year. And then some kids they just want in. And so they will run for president. If they don't get it, they can run for House of Students, which is a really, it's a nice consolation prize. But they get to see how government actually works, and how being a part of something gives you a chance to have your voice heard and have things happen that you want to happen. Not just what the principal says, or not just what the teachers say, what you want to happen at your school, which is a magical and wonderful thing. And it's such a good lesson for them to know, when I vote and when I participate, these are great things that happen in my world and in my life.
Okay, so I'm up last. My name is Eileen Heller, and I teach at EM Stanton, and I currently teach 7th and 8th grade. But I've only done the mock trials basically with my 8th graders. And I feel like I'm the lucky teacher because my students have had it from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade or up to 7th grade. So when they get to 8th grade, they're kind of ready to put all of their aspects together. So I bumped it up and I do the 2-minute mysteries. So I always, and it's basically, it's the creator of Encyclopedia Brown. So it's a little book and I do a 2-minute mystery. So the kids are always thinking, because middle schoolers need to always be on their toes. They love video games. So this is almost like a little video game because they have to use different parts of their brain to come up with a solution to the 2-minute mystery instead of the 1-minute mystery. So I bumped it up a minute. So the kids are already ready. They already kind of know, they think that they know the answers to all the mysteries because they've had them since kindergarten, but we always throw new ones in there. I really like the minute mysteries also for the children because they interact with each other. We're in a generation now where the children have difficulties, you know, socializing and communicating with each other and taking turns. And this gives 2 minutes to literally interact with each other without arguing and putting their minds together and thinking and saying, oh no, I already said that answer. You can't say that. What's a different way? What's a different method? So I like that. And of course, with middle school, everything has to be quick and with immediate reinforcement because then they get bored and they want to move on to something else. So I really like the way that Anne always started off my 8th grade classes that way. And so I followed in her lead and I do them in the morning along with my morning meeting, which is usually just check-ins, listening to CNN 10, and then doing our 2-minute mystery. But my favorite part is, of course, the mock trials. So like I said, because we're in 8th grade, the kids, they get dressed up. They're ready to perform. They think of this as almost like a show, but they literally wrote the entire show. And so they get to read the book and then bring the book to life. And sometimes we add in other characters just to kind of jazz it up a little bit. But our favorite, I have to say all-time favorite, is when we do Monster by Walter Dean Myers. This one is just really exciting because the kids can relate to this. Basically, there's kids, they go to the corner store every single day to buy their lunch, buy their snacks. In this book, maybe it's wrong place at the wrong time. And from this, we create our mock trial. And basically, we're seeing if it's the case of New York versus Steve Harmon. And Steve Harmon is a young 16-year-old child who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And we need to decide if he's guilty or if he's innocent. And we literally bring this book to life. We've taken this book on the road. We've taken it to the courts. We've had Judge Rendell actually sit on and decide if Steve Harmon is guilty or not guilty. We have witnessed actually sitting in the court. My students learned how to speak into the microphone, which is really important as well because they want to whisper and people can't really hear. So the mock trial, not only is it good because it brings out the reading aspect and the writing aspect, but it helps them with their speaking skills, which is really important as they move into high school. So we take all of these aspects and we make the mock trial through speaking, reading, listening, writing. So we hit all of the areas. And I feel like when they get to high school, because this does continue, a lot of schools have clubs where they have mock trial clubs. And I feel like our kids go to high school prepared, at least with the language, the vocabulary, just using this one sheet where we need to come up with the direct examination questions as opposed to the cross-examination questions. Anne always sets my students up into 2 different tables, teaches them how to ask one type of question as opposed to the other question. And I've actually learned because I'm like, no, that's direct. And it wasn't direct because, you know, you're just so used to speaking a certain way. So I've actually learned how to write questions like a lawyer to get the answer without actually giving away too much information, which is what Anne always taught us. The other book that we've done a mock trial on, this is a kind of a new one. It's a Newbery Honor author, Jacqueline Woodson, and it's called After Tupac and Dee Foster. So it actually has the rapper Tupac in it. And we created the state versus Tosh Walker, and to see if he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of aggravated assault in the 2nd degree. So I like to bring books into my 8th grade classroom that the students will want to read, as opposed to, we do the curriculum, of course, with other novels, but then I always bring in books that the children really are interested in. Thank you.
Sam?
Thank you so much. And what I would just like to say, really, just as I taught 11th grade, and it really, this is just an incredible detailed teacher testimonial, and also really shows the power of investing in civic education early and what that can do for students as they get through the grades. While people have the opportunity to ask a question, I don't see any yet. Anne, did you have a word? And if then
Yeah.
I had to have a question to wrap us up.
Okay, I just want to apologize. When I came upstairs a half hour before we started, somehow my computer was not working. I'm in the middle of construction here, and I probably sounded a little bit like I wasn't sure of what I was talking about, but I had to calm down. And I think that it's really important to think about this. Reading is our first freedom. The marriage of reading, of literature and civic literacy, is so important for our children right now. It's important for them to want to become informed. It's important for them to learn to read so they can make up their own minds about things. And so the joy of this is that it fits seamlessly into the curriculum, but it also enriches the children, and we hear their voices, and we hear voices that we don't usually hear in a classroom. We want the children to feel safe, but we also want them to feel involved, engaged, and we want them to use their voices. And ultimately, we want them to vote.
Well
Thanks.
said, Anne. And I promise you that you're an expert in the field. We appreciate your time and for helping put this together. I don't see any questions out there, so I'm going to ask one of my own. I had some prepared in case about content, but the testimony was so detailed that I have no questions about how you use the content. Just thank you again for sharing. So maybe as we run low on time, just maybe a minute or less, and we can go in reverse order this time. Just some words of advice for interested teachers on how to get started would be great.
I guess for me, like I said, finding books that the children will want to read and will want to, there's always a conflict in every novel. So finding that right book that can grab the attention of middle schoolers, that's the first obstacle.
I think that what made everything work out so well, that we get a lot on our plates as teachers, and we're told do this, do this, do this, and then add this, and then add this, and add this. This is not an add-on. It fits right in with what you're doing already. And that's kind of the magic part. I didn't want to do extra work, and I didn't have time for extra work, but having that it just fits right in with exactly what you're doing makes it really easy to make it happen.
Yes, and just to add on, in addition to what Anne said, also making sure, because it is his first grade classroom, that making sure that everyone has a voice, that they are feel safe to share something, and first grade, they're they just like to share their thoughts, and we want to encourage that.
Well, thank you so much for your advice and for your wisdom. And just to close things out here, I forgot to do that. Hello. If you have any questions or would like to sign up, get involved, you can reach out to Justin Villery, who's the C70 Director of Civic Education, and Spec, again, our lead educator. All of our emails are up here. You can find everything on the website, whether you're watching synchronously, asynchronously, please reach out. These are really excellent resources, and we've heard why they are so helpful in the classroom, and we really, really hope to see more teachers use this and everything. And how much does it cost?
Pardon me?
How much does this cost? It must cost so much to use these resources.
It's all free. Yes, all of the materials you can access for free. Take the menu of things that you've heard today and think about what would be integrated into your classroom, and ask us for the materials, because they're all free and easy to access.
You heard it, best price right there. Please join us for other Civic Learning Week webinars. The recording for our Monday webinar with Can We Talk co-director Chris Satullo about the introducing students to the skills and habits of productive dialogue. It should be available soon. And tomorrow I'll be hosting another webinar with three great guests, including Philadelphia Council Member Landau, about experiential civic programs like our youth mock election and our Studio C70 student candidate interview series. So you can see we have a great guest, Tom Quinn from PA Youth Vote, and a member of the Teacher Advisory Council at National Constitution Center, Nathan Salamone, are going to talk about their experience using our resources. So thank you so much from Committee 70, PA Civics, Civic Learning Week, and to our teachers for joining us. Again, to those of you who joined us synchronously or were watching this synchronously, we hope that you consider using these free programs to introduce students in primary elementary grades to civics, because it's so important. It's going to take all of us to ensure our students get the academic and social benefits of civic education. So thank you so much for joining us.